We started off really arrogant.
Yeah.
At least
We
I
had
was
no idea.
super arrogant.
We're like, let's not
Man.
put out anything, and let's just
Fuck the music
we'll just show up and
industry.
play the show. But then, how are we gonna pay for gas?
Yeah, let's see.
We
did
never had
tours.
a T-shirt. We did tours with having no merchandise,
merch.
nothing, and
Oh wow.
people would be like, "What? You doing what?" And so it was kind of a very odd thing, but we thought it was kind of cool.
Rock Dudes 41 is presented by PLANTRONICS and the newest model of headphone, Backbeat Pro 2. Backbeat Pro 2 is based on the award-winning Backbeat Pro, and the new design is mainly based on the feedback they have received from the users. That means that Backbeat Pro 2 is 35% smaller in size and the weight is 15% less than its previous model. Just like the previous model, the wireless listening time is 24 hours and the standby is for 6 months, and it works well as a hands-free as it has 2 built-in microphones. The active noise cancelling filters out the ancient noise while working or traveling. Incredibly nice when you want to disappear into the music. It also has a built-in smart sensor that detects when you take off and judgment and pause and resume the music for you automatically. Another great feature is the open mic position, as the touch of the button turns the ANC set and instead boosts the sound from the environment around you. It's really good when you want to talk to someone quickly but don't want to take off your headphones. Welcome to Rock Dudes 41 and a new international episode. The guests this time are Danko Jones and his bass player JC. Danko Jones has been playing the rock music with a high intensity for about 20 years. The friendship between Danko and JC has been totally intact. They have been changed the drummer position several times though. They have a lot of stories about the career, especially the first part, when they toured around North America with no money, for example. We also talked about things they are doing outside the band, like Danko running his own podcast. We also discussed a lot of their upcoming new album Wildcat, which will be released the 3rd of March. You can hear all of the stories in Rock Dudes 41. In the end of this episode, we will present the music top list, and this time it only will contain 4 songs chosen by Danko and JC. You will find the list on our Spotify profile and homepage rockdudes.se. Don't miss to follow Rock Dudes on social medias as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and YouTube. Search for Rock Dudes Podden. The best way to subscribe to this podcast is through iTunes, Spotify or YouTube. You can find all the information on our homepage rockdudes.se. Enough talking from my side. Let's start the interview with Danko and JC.
Here, welcome to Danko and to JC.
Hey guys.
Thank you for having us on
Yeah.
Rock Dudes. We
Yeah.
love
Nice
the name
to
of the
be here.
podcast. It's a great name.
Yeah.
So busy times. I mean, you just arrived a couple of hours from Paris, right?
Yes. So we're doing right now. We're on a press tour where we're promoting the new album Wildcat, and we started in London, Berlin, Paris. Today we're in Stockholm. Then we'll be in Milan, and then we're in Holland.
So what's the last stop? Holland?
Holland, yeah.
So
Herleen
basically
in
a
Holland.
full week.
A full week, and then yeah.
Wow.
What happens next after this promo tour?
Then we have about 10 days in Toronto, and then we do a couple of shows in Finland. And then at the end of February, we start touring for the album. By the time the album's out, just in time for that, we'll be on the road.
How long will the road be? Like 6 months or a year? Or?
The initial tour is going to be like just under 3 weeks, and then we're just going to do patches of touring. And there's still lots of talk of doing more shows, and there's be festivals. So it's
Busy times.
It's busy times. Yeah. Once the record comes out, then you slowly start to get more and more busy.
Yeah. Are you going to a lot of festivals during the summer as well?
I so far there's like a good 20 or 25 festivals confirmed, but I know it's kind of some bookings happen later, and once the record's out, then it's gonna more stuff will come together. So hopefully there'll be more and more festivals.
Yeah.
But I know we're in the Bravola Festival.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah, the biggest one in Sweden. Cool. Been there before? First time?
No, we played there 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
even bigger now.
Bigger than 2 years ago because
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
really big, and we've played there even before that.
yeah, so this will be our third time in Bravola.
Third time, yeah.
So last year, Tenacious D headline.
Mhm.
Funny guy, Jack Black.
Yeah, and Kyle.
Yeah. He's actually a good guitar player. You can't imagine. I mean,
Right.
but you always focus on Jack Black and his
Of course.
type of playing, but he actually writes a lot in the
Yeah.
band as well. So yeah, that could be a good band to team up with, a tour. What do you think?
Sure. I mean, I do like Tenacious D. I think they're hilarious. So, yeah.
In a perfect world, if you could pick and choose, who you want to tour with that you haven't done already, I mean. Any highlights? Tim Lizzy?
Kiss, AC/DC, Metallica, huge arena bands. It would be fun. You know, we've done arena tours before, and it is fun, man. It is a lot of fun. So yeah, those would be the first that come to mind.
How about the new version of Thin Lizzy? Would that be weird?
Black Star
or-
Riders? Or?
Yeah, no, but Thin Lizzy is also playing like a 30-year
What?
anniversary kind of thing. Yeah, with basically the same lineup as Black Star Riders.
Oh, they're just gonna call themselves Thin Lizzy?
Yeah, because when they are playing only Thin Lizzy songs, they are Thin Lizzy. But,
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. That makes sense because, yeah, you can't exactly come up with original material and call it
Sure.
Thin Lizzy. So
no,
that's
so that's
that's
what's the reason.
So the reason why we're talking a lot of Thin Lizzy is the guys here are apparently indoctrinated in a new fan club, right?
Yeah,
Thin
it's
Lizzy.
the
No,
old.
it's not the new
It's
fan
not the.
club.
It's
Is it
an
old one?
old. It's the old fan club from the 70s that
That's what makes
started
it special.
started in Stockholm here, and was accompanied by a Thin Lizzy news fanzine printed here. And
What's the
I'm
badge
member number 603.
603?
Danko 602. And
602.
from now to until forever.
Forever.
Oh wow!
We are fan club members.
Imagine
Yeah.
if you had the holy number 666 or 999 instead. But yeah, you're close enough,
Well,
right?
I think he needs to find. I don't think he hands these out very often.
Maybe
This is
that's why it's
this is
exclusive.
this is from back in the day. Like
Yeah, so
these,
it's just
even
a
these,
cardboard. Yeah, the cardboard stock.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's really, really cool. It's
Yeah,
the
do you have to
coolest thing
pay-
we've gotten on this trip.
You have to pay a membership fee as well. Or?
I think he waived it. He waived it.
Yeah, of course. I don't think we paid for the edition of the 1983 fanzine.
1983.
yeah.
We did a border deal. You basically interview us for free, and then we get this instead.
Wow, 83. God
Yeah,
damn.
it's a long time ago. You started Danko Jones for almost over 20 years ago.
Yeah, this is our 21st year.
Yeah. So what I've read is that you were not supposed to release music through records and things like that.
Yeah, we started off really arrogant.
Yeah.
At least
We
I
had
was
no idea.
Super arrogant.
We're like, let's not
Man.
put out anything,
Yeah.
and let's just
Fuck the music
we'll just show up and
industry.
play the show. But then, how we're gonna pay for gas?
Yeah, let's see.
We
did
never had
tours.
a T-shirt. We did tours with having no merchandise,
merch.
nothing, and
Oh wow!
people would be like, "What? You doing what?" And so it was kind of a very odd thing, but we thought it was kind of cool, and you know, it did have a bit of a charm to it. Looking
Yeah.
back to it, but it's,
Yeah, now I mean,
it would
we-
be impossible to do it now because with the internet, you'd be
Of
on
course.
YouTube and
Yeah.
And back then, it's just like, did you hear that there's this band that just tours? And we did a whole U.S. tour, no merch,
no
nothing.
merch because we were sticking to our guns. Like, you know, anytime someone would ask me, like, you don't have any, you're not selling anything? Fuck that shit, man. Fucking, those are for the soft bands. And then suddenly
That's
it's
selling out. Having a T-shirt, it's selling out.
Yeah.
And then we
that's how it
realized,
was. That's how it was
yeah.
back then. Having a T-shirt was like selling out. It
And
was
then
like
we
a form of selling
we
out.
took the idea, hey, maybe we should buy into
yeah.
what everyone else is
Then
doing.
you met a
We're-
crazy couple of Swedes, and you got signed to a small Swedish.
That
company
happened
label.
5 years into our band.
It did.
Yeah,
huh?
we were already 5 years old. We'd done our fair share of touring and shows. But the thing is that's something, yeah, I totally forgot. That's how hard line we were when it comes to selling out.
Sure.
So when some band accuses us of selling out or doing this or doing that, I'm like, you don't even know the half of it. You wouldn't even be able to be a band if you did what we did, which is full-on North American tours, no merch.
Driving from Toronto to San Diego,
Yeah.
straight.
No back seat.
Wow.
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah, we drove through the desert. We
Casa
had no
Mesa,
idea,
right?
and then by the time we got to Southern California, we realized that because of the heat, our tires were almost like
Burnout.
weren't worn out. We had to buy 4 new tires for the van.
Yeah.
With no back seat.
No back
the
seat.
2 cabinets were flanked up against each other, and we put a mattress there, so that was our bed.
We slept on the heads, the cabinets.
Yeah.
It's all DIY then, basically, more or less, right?
Sorry?
DIY, more
Yeah.
or less.
Yeah.
I
yeah,
pretty much booked all those shows.
You did?
all the
Yeah.
shows, yeah.
Yeah.
With no label.
And it was pretty impressive when you looked at the tour. You know, we'd be playing like Chicago on the way down, Chicago on the way back, and then we'd be playing like 10 shows on the West Coast. And
How was the material back then? Was it early days of songs from Danko, or was it cover songs as well?
It was
mixed
a
in?
lot of the material, no cover songs. It was the material that eventually became I'm Alive and on Fire, some
And-
of Born a Lion,
a lot of stuff that's on Garage Rock.
Would you say that you basically more or less wrote the debut album on the road? Tried it out on the stage as well? Early versions?
But
I mean?
not consciously. We just would. Sometimes we'd get together, have an idea of a riff, and then we're putting that in the set tomorrow.
Tomorrow, literally the next night.
And that's it. So I think the one thing that we got from that whole experience is the less time you start thinking about the song, then it just kind of the energy was captured
Yeah.
the most. So, and I mean, we wrote Cadillac.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed since then.
Yeah.
So no improv songs on stage. Well, maybe we should try this.
No, it was no
No,
jam
we're not
band.
a
It was no
jam
jam
band.
band.
Oh.
No, there's no. This isn't the Grateful Dead.
But what made you made the decision to go forward, creating records and releasing them? Was
You pay for the van.
You're gonna
Yeah.
pay for the
Gas.
tires, man. Those tires were expensive.
it a hard decision?
No, it was easy,
Yeah.
but only easy through the experience of having $5 in. I remember this. I had $5 in my pocket. I was in San Francisco. I live in Toronto, and I'm how many thousands of miles away from home, and I have $5, and I bought a banana. And I remember this. I went to a fruit stand. I bought a banana, and that was my food for the whole day.
Like a banana?
It was a banana. I remember, and I remember a thing. And this was in San Francisco because I still have the flyer of the show.
At the Cocoa Tree.
Yeah, with Pants Noisy, and someone told us that someone from Caius was in that band or something. So
Oh,
we're
wow.
like,
Cool.
oh,
Fuck, yeah.
that was bullshit.
It was?
And then it was.
It was
with
Papa Roach.
Oh, that show.
Yeah.
Okay, but we played 2 shows in San Francisco.
Oh, that was
for
the
tour.
one on Commissioner Street where
with
people were
Pants
getting
Noisy.
shot. Yeah.
But yeah, we did on that. Either the night before or the night after, we played a second show in San Francisco with Papa Roach, who nobody knew. No, they were
This is before the last
unsigned.
resort, and then
Yeah. unsigned.
And then it just exploded. Huh?
And
Yeah.
they freaked out about our
yeah,
band.
they're like, "We love your band, man!" And then we had one of the first bands to have a website back then, and you'd have a message board on your website, and I remember they left a message. You guys rocked, fucking Danko motherfuckers.
and
Papa
we were like,
Roach.
oh, cool, man! This band that we saw on that tour. That's nice of them. And then what? 2 years later, boom! And
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
that's the dude who was like going shit crazy after our set. So that's nice, And then we met years later. And
At a festival, in the United States.
Yeah.
And we I think you went up to like, hey,
Do you remember me?
And he did.
and
he
like
did.
the Cocoa Dream. We're like, yeah.
It was funny.
Across the street from the Lusty Lady.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that was-
oh
He's a
my
funny guy,
God,
though,
the
right?
lusty lady.
I mean,
Fuck,
that's the whole experience that we've had
yeah,
with them.
yeah.
We're like, hey, we played a gig with them like years ago, and that, so it's pretty funny.
It's funny when we've played shows with these like bands that you don't even know. They're just whatever, and then they sell 1 million copies 2 years later. But not Papa Roach, but there's another band. We saw them. They sold 1 million. We played with them, and they sold 1 million copies. And then we saw them go way ahead of us on the mountain. Then we saw them fall off, and nobody even knows who they are anymore. And we just keep going down that same path. We're not going up. We're not going down the mountain. We're just steady as it goes, and that's okay. It's funny though that when you've been around for enough years, you do kind of bank all these experiences or these memories about, oh yeah, like there were all these bands that we kind of came in contact with in one weird way or another. I consider Papa Roach to be from another almost different genre of music than us, like another world of music than us. But that's cool. Like we've always been like, that's cool. They were nice to us, man. I got nothing bad to say about those guys. If you like them, you like them. If you don't, you don't. But they treated us with respect, and that's only anything I've ever wanted from anybody in any band. And the funny thing is when you meet a band who's like an established huge band, you would think those would be the rock stars with the attitudes. They're usually 99.9% of the time the nicest people you'll ever meet in the music industry. It's the people who have been around for 2 weeks who got some sort of article in some fucking music magazine who have the biggest attitude. So it's nice, like, yeah, the guys from Papa Roach were nice, and Lemmy was nice. Like whoever was, but it's that fucking hipster shit band you never knew 2 weeks ago that they were the ones who, would
you have
give
an
us
example?
one-word answers. No, I'm not going to say it.
Do you want to out it?
They're out there.
No?
You know what? They're
Here's
not.
your chance, man.
They're not. But they're not here to defend themselves. That would be the best part.
We don't want to give them promo either.
But that happens more than often, right? Especially in the pop field, right? In kind of music.
Yeah. And in the beginning, I can't say it doesn't happen now, but in the beginning, I get my back up and go, fuck, what a bunch of assholes. But now I laugh at it because it's like, enjoy your small, tiny window of fame. You get to be an asshole for a year.
Yeah.
Go for it. And then when the window closes, then you'll get humble again and then talk to me then. And usually, a lot of times it's happened where, someone who had a lot of attitude, you see them 3-4 years later and they're really down to earth, so it humbles them. So go ahead and just, be the rock star you've always wanted to be, and we'll suffer it for a while. But then eventually that window will close and you'll get shut down.
So you have a new album coming out, Wildcat, and this is the first time ever on a German label, right? AFM.
Yeah, I mean, it's still tied in with Bad Taste from Sweden, so it's a AFM Bad Taste related release. But yeah, the time was right to move on to another label. And Bad Taste isn't really an active label. They're not signing any new bands. They're not really even putting out albums. They're working with us, and so we were pretty much Bad Taste Records after a while in terms of musical output. So better to work with a label that is active and has a team and can let's see where that will take us. So
maybe this will open up the German market even more festivals, more club gigs, who knows?
Maybe.
Talking about your music and the new album, how does the new music comes along? How do you write the music? Is it just about the riff or?
Yeah, it's I'll come in with a riff, I'll show it to JC, and he's really good at arranging the songs and come up with a real kind of quick arrangement just so we can bring it to Rich, and then together we all kind of work on it again further. But I'll come up with a bunch of I can come up with 10 riffs, but I'll only probably end up showing him 5. I'll never show him the other 5, and then out of those 5, maybe 2 catch his ear, right? Like there's lots of riffs I've shown you where you just like it just doesn't whether it's the moment in time or it's just not, you're not hearing it. Yeah. Or you're not hearing it the way I'm hearing it, and that's fine. There's a lot of riffs,
But there's like the ones that we do pick are the ones that stand out
Yeah,
the most. And then they're the ones that sort of really write themselves. And I think that the majority of the time we find ourselves spending a lot of time on one idea and one riff that we think is amazing, and we'll spend like a few months working on it, and then after we're like, no, that's not good. The idea that it took, 2 minutes to arrange, and then we jam it out once in the space, and that's the final song, then that's always the best way to come about.
Any left out
song.
songs from this recording session that didn't make it on the album? Or
Yeah,
what?
one song didn't make it.
You'll save it for the Japanese exclusive
No,
bonus
it won't.
tracks?
I don't even
You
think
know what? It's not.
worth
We
even being
won't
released.
release it. We won't release it.
Yeah,
Oh,
it got to the point where we were really on the fence about that song going into the session. And then I think we all kind of knew it wasn't good enough when we finished laying down all the instruments, but it's there. I might as well get in there and sing it and finish it. So it's finished. Like I didn't, even laying down the vocals, I kind of knew in the back of my head, this can't make the record. But we've spent all this time in the studio to record all the instruments for it. Let me just finish the vocals, and then true enough, it didn't make the record. It didn't need to be on it. It's not strong enough.
So what would happen? Will it ever see the light of day, or put it in a shelf, or a 7-inch? Or?
Probably not.
Just
but
gets pushed aside, and we keep going
But
forward.
there's tons of those songs. We have tons of those.
So you could basically just, if you wanted, release a new album, B tracks, like 10 songs.
We've released B-sides, Garage Rock and I'm Alive and on Fire were songs that were never released officially on records and count as full albums of original material. But those were released because they were good. They just didn't have a place to be heard. But then there's a whole bunch of songs we have that if we ever release it, we won't have a career. They're just that terrible. So, you know, we have songs that are so bad that you keep them because you did it, but no one else should hear it.
So what are the expectations when releasing this album? What are the goals? I mean, you guys
Same
always
as
done
every
a lot.
other band. The goals are the same.
Papa
as-
Roach, all the way up. And,
Absolutely.
yeah.
The goal of every band when they put out an album is to become the biggest band in the world. You don't put out a record to go, well, you know, this is
I only
okay.
want 100 people to listen to this.
Yeah.
If it goes to 101, it's not
True. It's so
We're selling
true.
out, man. We're selling
Sell
out.
out.
It's like,
We only want to sell 4 T-shirts and 3 CDs.
yeah. Every band wants to be the biggest band, no matter what kind of pose they adopt, or you know how much they say they dislike success and fame. Then be real, be true to that, and just record for the sake of you making music and keep it for your bedroom.
True.
The moment you take it out into a public forum, you're asking for people to like you. But where's the cutoff point? 500 people, 500,000. Where do you draw the line? I mean, it's a ridiculous thing when you follow the thread all the way to the practical end. Okay, so you want to be underground, so so the cutoff point is like 5,000, and then you know that those other people who like you don't want them to like you. You've got your 5,000. It's ridiculous.
But are you going back home and listening to the old stuff that didn't cut for release?
No, I haven't even heard it.
Not really. I mean, you just put it in a box.
cares?
Yeah,
You
you
just
put it
kind
in a
of go ahead.
box. Even for Garage Rock, when we put that out in 2014, it was a compilation of old cassettes, like rehearsal tapes from 96 to 99. We hadn't heard those in years. Like, some even 20, whatever, from day one of the band, you know, and a lot of them were really good enough to put out. Some songs I forgotten, and I remembered how much I liked that song. And the reason why we never ended up continuing to play it, or it never got on a record, was just because we were writing so much, it just got lost in the mix, you know, and so, yeah, there's an album we put out in 2012 called Rock and Roll is Black and Blue, because it's a title, but I had forgotten that we had actually written a song called Rock and Roll is Black and Blue, and we found it on one of the cassettes that we had and put it on Garage Rock, and that's called Rock and Roll is Black and Blue. That's the actual song. So yeah, that's just how prolific we were back in the day. We were writing so much because there was no deadline. We would just get in a room, jam, write a song, call it a song. And whereas now with, touring and record labels and press tours and releases and deadlines and due dates and release dates and all this, it's more structured. So there is a period of time to write music. Whereas before it was like always just like, hey, it's Wednesday. We just wrote 3 songs. Well, there's nowhere to release it. So now it's more structured, and there's less output, but.
Do you miss the old days though? I mean.
Yeah, I miss the prolific, how prolific we were putting all that stuff out, and it's really cool. But what we do now, kind of like this more structured cycle of album after album, is why we did all that stuff, to get to this point where we can like have access to just making album after album. There was no album to put out, so.
No, imagine if you just decided from now on, no T-shirt, no record, we just want to go out and play like the good old days.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever thought about that? Like try it out, see if like coming out from our comfort zone and see if that can attract something else for us as a band, or seeing
No.
that, okay, fuck it, let's just do it.
No.
No? Because you're used to
no.
it, or?
Not necessarily. It's silly to not sell merchandise and records and stuff like that with 11 records under your belt. But the attitude and the approach is definitely something that, I'd just love to play a show in Toronto and load the gear in ourselves and load out and go home. That whole experience harkens back to the early days that I miss. But at the same time, I think if I was to do that 2 times, I think on the second time of doing that, loading in, loading out, I would be sick of it. I'd be like, all right, guys, I did it on Friday. Saturday, we should really go back to how we were doing it.
We've talked about doing just a couple of gigs here and there.
Yeah.
We just show up and do it.
Like a smaller audience or something?
We've already talked about doing it.
We did that on the last tour as well, where we just, played like really small capacity rooms, like 100 people rooms.
Oh, wow. How was that? Intense? I mean,
It was great.
It was just leading up to the release of the record. So
I think it was in Berlin and in Hamburg, and for both of those shows, they sold out in like 4 minutes or something like that.
Crazy.
So it was great. So it was perfect. Just a small little club and the Reeperbahn in Hamburg there, and.
But that was like, those were like real, like it was a set. It was just a normal set that we would do. But we've been even thinking about doing, like, changing up for these small intimate shows, if we do them in Toronto, change up the set itself and just make it really a certain kind of song that we write. Just have it plow for, like, relentless for half an hour or whatever.
Has the 20th anniversary came about yet, or are we still waiting?
Yeah, it was last year.
It was? Did you have a show in Toronto just to...
It was the first year in all 20 years that we didn't play Toronto.
Oh, you didn't?
we made
that was
way.
a statement.
Yeah.
Fuck that. No.
It wasn't deliberate.
Yes.
It just worked out that way.
Yeah, we made a record for
For the rest of the world, except for Toronto.
Yeah, it was weird how it worked out that way. But every year we play Toronto at least once, if not 2-3 times sometimes. But 2016, the 20th anniversary of the band, was the first. So what was it? March of 2015 was when we played Toronto. So it's closing in on 2 years since we haven't played Toronto.
Crazy.
It will be crazy next show you play there.
21 year anniversary.
Or not, or they'll be like, who? What's going on? Who are you?
They have forgotten you.
How's the scene in Canada nowadays? I mean, is it healthy? Do you see new bands?
Yeah, there's.
I mean, rock and roll. There is a couple of metal bands, but in general,
metal. There's always metal all over the world,
Sure.
in every scene. But rock and roll is harder to come by because it's not as much of a organized kind of genre of music. You kind of got to find it, whereas metal, I was saying this earlier, is a universe unto itself. You just have to plug in and then whoosh, it's like a ride. It just takes you up on its own. You don't have to do too much work to get into metal. okay, I listen to Metallica, and then suddenly, well, you got to listen to these bands, and it's very laid out for you. Whereas rock and roll, it's like, where's the scene here? There's no scene. So I was saying, like, every band is kind of an island unto itself, and we're like looking at each other from a distance. So when we tour, we like to bring newer rock and roll bands who we feel embody the spirit of the true nature of what the rock and roll sound is, or whatever. So we've taken, Judah, the Biters, Admiral Sir Cloudsley Shovel, 77, Deadlord. Now we're taking out Audrey Horne, and this kind of like, kind of bringing together these rock bands to kind of initiate some semblance of a scene, or to have it appear that there's some sort of scene, is what hopefully these tours are doing.
I mean, compared to Sweden, there is a lot of rock and roll band, but there's no scene at all. I remember
there used to be a scene, Scandinavian rock scene. Yeah.
This might be well, maybe you don't know about this, but the last time you were here, you played the Base of Medis, you played Götakälla. Both of those venues has closed down. They don't exist anymore.
We've heard about that. I was hearing about I remember there was something about the last show.
In the New Year's Eve. So both of those are capacity of 900. So there's no venues here in Stockholm close to the inner city. They've been closing down. Politics are totally changing everything. They don't want to have it in here at all.
Right.
So I remember you guys actually played both those venues in the back all day. So it's like tragic.
That's too bad. Way. Yeah, that is sad. That's too bad.
So there's a lot of
there's more condos coming. More condos, everyone.
Yeah, just
galleries and stuff like that. So there is a lot of bands, musicians, and there's a lot of musicians coming here thinking about, wow, Sweden is the mecca for rock music and metal, and there's like nothing really happens here in some way.
Well, that's too bad. Yeah, it does yield a lot of bands. But hopefully it's just a temporary thing until new clubs open up.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah. Usually that happens.
Yeah, that happens. It comes and goes. And
maybe you guys can help, because Sweden feels like it's like a second country for you guys. Mm-hmm. Meaning that you played a lot here and you have a label here as well.
We have spent a lot of time and a lot of connections with Sweden in a variety of ways. Yeah, absolutely.
Where did that start, the relationship with Sweden?
I would say probably 98.
Really? Yeah.
We were. Was it CMJ?
CMJ.
We were in New York, and it was the first show that that this label called Star Tracks was having a showcase night.
Oh, Fredrik's own label.
With three bands of theirs. One was Helicopters, one was Fireside, and one was Loose Goats. Loose Goats didn't make it over the border, and we heard that there's going to be a show there, so we were in New York. And Danko actually walked over there, asked if we could play the gig, and we played. It was us, Fireside, and Helicopters.
Cool. Robon, I asked Robon, the drummer, and he didn't know us from. We could have sounded like, I don't know, Coldplay or anything. He didn't know what we were, and it was great. And then years later, I saw him in the crowd at our first full official Stockholm show. So it was nice.
You're still in touch with him?
In touch enough for you.
I just saw him last time we were here on the street. And it was funny because then after the New Bomb Turks were on tour with the Helicopters, and they came through Toronto, and we're good friends with the New Bomb Turks, and this was like a year. It was maybe it was the same year or a year later. Yeah. So I went to the show, and it was with the Quadrajets, and the Quadrajets all stayed at my house that night. So we were at a record store.
Full blast.
Full blast. And we were downstairs, and there was a Danko Jones poster, and I was with the Quadrajets guy and talking to Robon, and Robon goes, "Oh, look, Danko Jones, they're a cool band. They're from New York." I'm like, "No, they're from Toronto." He's like, "No, they're from New York." I'm like, "No, man, I'm in the band. We're from Toronto. You're in the band? Oh, you got a cool." And then it's always our joke every time we've seen each other.
That's funny.
That was a good night. It was the Helicopters, the Turks, us, the Quadrajets, and this record store was about as big as this room.
Yeah,
Luann's
we were
store.
just hanging out, having beers. That was the after show.
What do you think about the new Helicopters getting back together and everything? We're actually in this.
Great for them. Great. Awesome.
It's funny. We just saw Nikki in Berlin. Our last
night? No, two
nights ago. Our last interview was at a radio station in Berlin, and the DJ just came running at the door when we got there. I have a surprise for you, and we're like, oh great!
I wonder what
surprises.
There's somebody here for you. I'm like,
fuck. Media. Oh no way.
We walked. Shanna, hey, what are you doing here?
What the fuck? This is a great surprise. Yeah. Nicky's a great
funny.
dude. Yeah, it's great to run into him.
So I mean, and then after that, when we first came to play in Sweden, and we were lucky enough to play a festival and alongside Backyard Babies, and after we played, Dragon came up to us and told us he loved the show, and later on that year, we ended up touring with Backyard Babies across Europe, and pretty much since then, we've all had connections, whether with International Noise Conspiracy and from bands like In Flames, and we just have all these connections all over.
All of them are Danko fans, but of course.
But we're such fans of Swedish bands and Swedish music too, like popular music. A lot of metal bands.
ABBA.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a world. Yeah, that's like, but more current and more today. Like, everyone. I mean, I'm drawing a blank now, but
Sure.
But yeah, a lot of the bands JC mentioned.
Yeah.
And just throw me some, and I can.
Ghost.
Absolutely, like I love Ghost from the presentation to the music. Big fan of what they've done to ignite in a very tasteful way performance in music. I love the presentation. So yeah, and I love the album of the music is great too.
So you would say that you guys listen to a lot of Swedish music, right? Is that
not deliberately? I mean, you just listen to a band, and if they're cool, they're cool. And a lot of the times, they're from Sweden. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whether it's from Opeth or Entombed or Noise Conspiracy or Backyard Babies or
Gin Lady.
It's a lot of bands.
Lots of bands.
It's not just in
Imperial.
this. Yeah, not just in rock music and metal in general. We're quite big in old dance music, dance bands. What do you call it? Schlager, stuff like that as well.
EDM.
There's a couple of bands there as well. The funny thing is that just a couple of weeks
Ace
ago.
of Base.
Yeah, there you go. A couple of weeks ago, we.
Robin.
I
love Robin.
Genuinely, really
Pop music.
like her stuff. Yeah, I think she's great.
So we got 10 million people now living in Sweden.
So I heard you hit the 10 million mark.
Yeah.
Wow,
This
that's
week.
cool. I think you'd be verified on Twitter.
You think? I don't even have Twitter. Instagram. That works.
Instagram verification.
So you're active on the socials as well? You think it's a lot of work? I mean, now we have to do everything pretty much.
No, it's
taking
fun.
It down
I mean, as long as you keep it fun.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, I was posting
It's a lot
as
of
we
humor.
started this conversation. Let's see how many likes I got on the last post.
Thin Lizzy
since we've been
fan club
Thin
post.
Lizzy fan club post.
What's good in terms of like-wise? How many social numbers do you have to have in
We
the next
don't
5
have
minutes?
that many.
Oh, come on.
Come on,
You're a
this
humble
is-
dude.
A couple hundred is good, and
This is taking hold, man. 113 likes.
wow. See,
Since
we
what did I
started
just say?
talking.
Just in 30 minutes.
I wonder after this podcast, we might have like 0. Who knows?
180.
Really? Then why are we doing this?
Because you haven't posted it yet, dude. That's why. But regarding podcast, because besides music, you also have a podcast, right?
Yes.
What's the name of the podcast?
It's the
Are we
official-
entering the
Yeah.
podcast talking about podcasts?
Yeah.
meta part of the
Yeah.
podcast.
This is a bit
This
different
is
twist
the new,
to
This
it.
is the new
The New Black.
episode within the episode.
yeah, exactly.
Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
So what's the name then?
Well,
Is it
I
a
was gonna
secret?
do some- yeah, it's an official Danko Jones podcast. And the reason why it's official is because I actually used to do a podcast back in, 05 or something. And I was told by the label that we were on in America to do this podcast, or was it our webmaster advised me to do some podcast, which was at that time, I didn't know what that was.
The early days, yeah.
The medium hadn't really taken hold. So I really didn't know what they were talking about, but they were saying, just talk about stuff. And so I would just like go, well, today we played blah, blah, blah. You know, I would just list off what we were doing on the tours and, oh, it was cool, you know, just talking to myself. And that was the podcast. And they actually uploaded it on iTunes or something. And so when we started the official Danko Jones podcast, my podcast I have now, I don't know if it's still up there, but there was 2 Danko Jones podcasts up on iTunes. So the official had to be put. It's ridiculous because it forces me to go official. Like, how is it not? What's the unofficial one? But there is an unofficial one.
Oh, wow.
And maybe since then they've taken it down. But I just call it the Danko Jones podcast now. It's been 5 years that I've been doing this one. We're up to 143 episodes. The last episode was with Marty Friedman from Marty Friedman and Marty Friedman fame and Megadeth and Cacophony. So the one before that was Doc Coyle from God Forbid and Vegas Nerve. So once every 2 weeks, you know, I put up 2 a month, and they're just discussions with friends and bands or people I like or both, you know, and that's about it.
In specific topics or in just
No,
in
it's
general?
whatever where it
Pops up?
takes us. If it's someone I don't know who I reached out to deliberately to talk to, then we'll talk about what, you know, I reached out to this guy, Mal Sharp, who is a comedian, and he used to be in this duo called Coyle and Sharp, and they put out records in the early 60s, 63 and 64. And they're pretty much proto Jackass, proto Howard Stern, David Letterman, and Andy Kaufman was really influenced by them. Jim Coyle's dead. Mal Sharp is still alive. He lives in San Francisco, and he's just this old dude now. And I reached out to him through email, and he wrote me back, and we had a conversation on the phone, and I taped it and called it a podcast. And it was really cool to because I've been listening to his bits for years. I knew of him from when I was growing up. There used to be a show called TV Bloopers and Practical Jokes, and he would go on the street. Basically, Coyle and Sharp were this street duo that would pull pranks on people, and you know they would go up to people and go, "Hey, can we saw your brain open and put a clock in it?" And you know, in the early '60s, this wasn't. People weren't used to this, and they'd be like, "What?" And they'd tape the conversations and they'd put it out. And so they got re-released, and Mal Sharp, you know, found his way on mainstream television where I saw him and stuff, and I always thought he was cool. I had his solo albums, and then I found out he was part of Coyle and Sharp, so I worked my way backwards. And Henry Rollins actually re-released Coyle and Sharp in the 90s. And I had his 2 solo albums, and Henry put it out, and I looked at the cover. I remember going, that guy looks like Mal Sharp. It's Mal Sharp when he was younger. So to talk to the guy that I've been watching since I was probably 12
Crazy.
was so wild.
Surreal,
and
yeah,
to do his bits back to him, you know, I cut out a lot of the conversation we had where he could not remember the bits because he's that old. And yeah, it was like,
Tough.
but I would ask him about, like, so how did you do this bit? Like, did you get chased by the cops? Like, did people try to beat you up? And he would say to me, remind me what that was about. And I was like, okay, well, you know, you do this and you go, blah, blah. So I was doing his bits back to him, and then he would start laughing. It was amazing. But I cut out some of that stuff because I thought it would be, it just would it would be a little embarrassing that he couldn't remember the bits. But it was fun to do his bits back to him. Some I've been listening to for a very long time. And so, yeah, there's some amazing, absurd, surreal bits they used to have. They did this bit called Edges where I don't even know how to begin to describe it, but I tried to describe it to him, and he couldn't remember it, and I couldn't describe it back to him. But anyways, those are some of those are the times when we actually talk about what that person is known for. But if it's like Marty or Doc or something, we just talk and see where it takes us.
Do you guys actively listen to podcasts except doing your own
Yeah, I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Any examples? How about you, JC?
No, I mean, not a ton, but I'll.
On the road, perhaps? Or
Yeah, more so like I'll listen to the BBC News as a podcast.
that works.
You're more of a news junkie, right?
And then
How about you, Danko?
some Joe Rogan.
Oh yeah,
podcast.
Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I actually listen to it as well on YouTube with this MMA thing going on because I'm actively interested in that kind of
Okay.
field as
So
well.
did you watch?
MMA,
Did you watch it when he was there with Joey Diaz?
Yeah.
I love Joey Diaz. He's
You do?
great, man. He's really
You know, at the office where I'm working, the All-Star Gym, where all the bigger competitors, actually there, including the Alexander the Mauler guy. If you're into this MMA thing,
okay.
that's where I train.
Wow.
But going back to the pocket, that's actually quite funny in terms of. I was thinking about. Do you have any specific idols you would like to interview and that you haven't done already?
Sure,
Maybe you don't have
name
idols.
it,
you
I'd
know.
love to have them on. It would draw traffic to the podcast to have. Hey, next week, tune in if you want. I mean, we're gonna have Axl Rose on.
James
I don't know if
Hetfield.
you want to hear.
Would that be a dream?
Kirk Hammett.
Manowar? No. I'm kidding.
Manowar?
I'm kidding.
Sure. Actually, no.
course
I
not.
don't want to talk to Manowar. I will be honest, and I'll say it on the record. Although I wouldn't mind having Ross the Boss on.
I remember back in the old days, you on a festival. Yeah, that's funny. BB King, you met him, right? You haven't? Think you?
No, not BB King. You're
Who was it then?
Oh, Solomon Burke.
Solomon Burke.
Oh yeah, sorry about that confusion. Yeah, how was that meeting him?
Oh, that was great. I didn't have a podcast back then.
No,
but
no, of
damn
course
it, I
not.
wish I did.
He was driving around on a golf cart.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Godfather of Soul, and you actually met him, and you told him lyrics to him,
yeah.
like
I
his
did.
own lyrics. He goes, "I say this," and you started.
Yeah, I quoted him off his album Soul Alive, which was an album that really formed a blueprint to like our band, one of the most foundational records, if that's a word, for this band. And so, yeah, I knew that album quite well, more so than any of his other albums. And I was quoting him because it's a live album that has more in between banter than actual songs. And the women women in the audience are going crazy. It was just one of the best albums ever released. So I'm quoting him and he's sitting there and he's just staring at me. He goes, I can't remember exactly what he said. He goes, "I'm your godfather now."
Yeah,
Wait,
he's
on the golf cart? Oh.
Yeah.
and then he became, "I'm your godfather now. You meet your god brother."
This is your god brother right here. And he had his son and his daughter. And apparently he had a lot of kids.
Yeah.
But I could his son was real cool, and we exchanged emails after that meeting a couple of times. But the daughter, I saw her the look on her face was like, "Oh, there's dad again, another god brother I have." You know, it's like,
Another cousin.
Yeah. But that was really nice
cool.
to kind of. It
It's
was a
really
cool
nice.
moment to kind of because
Yeah.
that's old school. Like you kind of get, you know.
it's nice.
I
It
saw
was
the
nice.
picture. It was all over the media here in Sweden.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow,
it was.
that's cool.
That's why
I'm wearing an Illuminati shirt. That's our friend's band, our friend's old band.
So besides the podcast, the band, are you still doing the column thing for Close Up, the magazine?
I have to hand one in when I get back home.
A bit stressed about that?
No, it's finished, man. I'm very
Of course,
prepared.
of course.
It's already done.
How's that in comparison to doing a podcast and doing a column?
It's a different kind of challenge, very similar but different. I like it because it just gives me Roban, the editor of Close Up. He gives me free reign almost, but I have to talk about heavy music.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And so it makes me think about how I like to think about quirky little different things about music. So this kind of forces my brain to stretch in that direction. So I like it.
So where do you guys discover music on the road or on Spotify or Apple or how does it go?
Magazines like this, just flipping through the reviews and checking stuff out, and I don't know. Yeah, that's how I find out about a lot of stuff, or through online talk or whatever.
What's the current one that's on repeat? Any tips? Musical?
The new Sepultura is great. Machine Messiah.
Oh wow, really? Okay.
Yeah. I had to do something back home with Sam Dunn from Banger TV about Sepultura. So they gave me the new album, so I listened to it a lot leading up to the show. So
you're a big Sepultura fan?
I
You
am.
would say, yeah.
Yeah, I am. I didn't realize how big a fan I was until I did the show. You know, that was the best part of doing that whole thing. Is like, holy shit, yeah, man, I forgot how awesome this band is and how much they meant to me at a certain point in my life. So,
Is Max and Iga coming back, or are we talking about Sepultura, the second band? I mean, with the other lineup?
The show was about. We talked about the entire history
Range,
from the beginning to the new album, and so we only had an hour. They're one of those bands that you can talk about for hours and hours. So it was about all kinds of things. We just kept it to Sepultura releases and not veer off into a Soulfly or Cavalera Conspiracy or Nail Bomb. We just kept it to the discography.
It seems as whatever they touch is great music, and then all those 4 bands that you mentioned, so good.
Yeah.
Even though it's different range of music, I mean.
And I had to state that I'm a huge Derek Green era fan. Like, I think they're so underrated and just doesn't get his just due, and that needed to be said.
He's a really good like frontman.
Yeah,
too. He just looks imposing, and I mean we've been lucky enough to know him, and he's a really cool guy. He's super nice to hang out with, and like, but when you put the mic on him, and he's like, oh,
yeah.
He can definitely command a crowd, and he's like 10 feet tall. So you hang out with him if you're playing a show, and you're like, you hanging out with this guy who's like 10 feet tall, and then you go, all right, I'm gonna do my show now.
Oh, really? That voice.
do you kiss on the first date?
But have you guys? I was thinking about that. Have you guys ever thought about doing like on a side project, like a metal band, or like just for fun, just putting out something out, not necessarily touring?
Funny you should ask. JC and I are in a side project called Iron Magazine with 2 of the guys from Circle, that kind of Finnish psychedelic avant rock metal band. They've been around for 25 years, put out how many records, and we're putting out a 4-song EP. And the single, the first single gets released tomorrow, called Queen of Hell. It's going to get released digitally tomorrow. So it's just a fun thing we did last year, trading MP3s back and forth and recordings, and so it's UC Ledesalo from Circle and Tommy Lepinin from Circle on drums. UC plays guitar, JC on bass, I'm on vocals. And it's called Iron Magazine.
How did that come about then? I mean, you knew that since before?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a long time coming. I think 4 years ago, I was in Helsinki and I kept asking people about Circle. And I was like, well, tell me about this Circle. Like, well, who's behind Circle? And so they told UC, and apparently that I never got this huge package UC sent me in the mail that I never received. And so the next time, everybody was like, so what'd you think? And I was like, I don't know. So they gave me his address, and we started over the past 2 years. We've been exchanging emails back and forth about music and getting to know each other's musical tastes and really respecting each other's musical taste. And then he just said, hey, I got these songs, and they were leftover songs from Actor, this band that he has with Chris Black, who was in Noctimistium and High Spirits. He sings in High Spirits, and a great musician. But Chris didn't sing on these tracks, and they just were lying around. And I go, well, give them to me. And they were great. And I was like, oh, I sang what I sang, and I really liked what I sang. So I don't know how people will think of this, because it's not Danko Jones. It's not Circle, although it's more in the Circle world. But I really love what came about, And
it was a fun little thing to do, and really just
with a mutual respect of the 2 bands. Like, I'm a big Circle fan, and I think those guys really dig our band, and it's just a fun little thing. It's a great. People have been asking me for years, like, are you going to put out a metal? You like metal. You say you like metal. Like, why aren't you putting out a metal? I can't play metal. But UC's calling this happy metal.
Happy metal.
Which
new genre. Okay.
Which I understand what he means, and to me it is happy metal. So I'll stick with that. I don't know how people will interpret it or what they'll think of it, but I love it. And one of the songs is I'm very proud of my vocals. I feel it's one of the best vocal performances I've ever done.
You sound happy, or what's the story? The
Sorry?
vocals. You sound happy on the vocals, or what do you mean?
Well, it's about seeking revenge on your enemies.
Ouch.
But it's still a great, fun song, and I really, really like how I sang it. I was thinking about that the other day, and yeah, so that's going to be out.
Shit, so tomorrow's the big day.
Tomorrow's Queen of Hell is getting released.
And also My Little Rock and Roll.
Is it?
Yeah, the single.
My God.
Nuts. You didn't know about that, right? On the same day and everything.
Oh my God. We've
Wow.
just been on this whirlwind press tour. I didn't realize it. But I mean, the reason why we're doing all of this is because of Wildcat. And it's the
So you have two bands releasing music tomorrow.
on the same day.
It's like the first time ever,
That's
right?
fucking amazing. For a band that really
No T-shirts, man. No T-shirts.
You
No.
heard this. You heard this.
It's
first
only
time
going to
on
be
the
there
podcast.
available for like 15
awesome.
minutes after it's going to disappear.
Dude, it's all making news. All
That's
there.
amazing. I never even fucking realized it. But it's I mean, Iron Magazine is just a little side project of ours. It's on Ectro Records, and it's a little fun thing. And Wildcat is really what we're gonna end up touring.
But the Iron thing, do you think you're going to play live, like one-time show? Or?
I don't know. I
You
mean,
never know what could happen.
I honestly didn't
Would you,
play
though?
it for anybody. The only person who's heard it that I know is Rich, our drummer.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the people who have heard it, they're like, okay.
I love it, man. I fucking love it.
All right. Okay.
Really? That's a good thing, though, right? Like,
No, I
It's going to
really-
be, interesting. That's
Yeah,
good.
it's interesting. I don't know if people who listen to our band will even like it, but I don't care. I love it, man. That's what we do. This
It was a
stuff.
fun thing to do.
So
Definitely.
much fun.
you'll see online later on tomorrow. Yeah, the Finnish guy will probably say that we booked you to festival gigs and
But
here
you know
and there.
what? I don't. Honestly, I don't really care. When I sent the vocals to UC, I remember there was one song I sent him, and the name of the song is 665, and so I sent him the song, and Toronto time to finish time is 7 hours difference, so it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. But he wrote me back and he goes, "Oh, I have friends over right now. I will listen to it tomorrow, but thank you." And then like 10 minutes later, he goes, "Oh, I couldn't wait. I had to listen to it." And he sent me 10 emails that night.
Really? Wow.
As he was getting
Yeah.
progressively more
More
drunk.
drunk.
This is
Even better.
But that's the thing.
So-
It's great because it's so. There's nothing attached to this. It's just kind of
Yeah.
like a fun thing to do, and it just kind of, it's just really, like just an honest little project to do that was fun with no expectations really. It's
Yeah,
kind
no
of-
expectations. And I've already pleased the person I wanted to please, was UC. I just wanted to please him. That's it.
Now it's time for Rock Dudes 41's music top list, and this time it will be a top 4 by Danko and JC. The music top list will be published on our Spotify profile and homepage rockdudes.se. And we start with a song chosen by Danko.
Well, Wildcat is the name of the album, and that's the title track. And I'm very proud of that song. It's our song. It's on our new record. And it harkens back to Van Halen, which is a really big... I'm a big fan of that band. And it's just such an intimidating band to even try to influence you because of the musicianship and the big personalities in that band. But we did our best. It's a mix of Top Jimmy meets Hot for Teacher meets Fools. Three Van Halen songs kind of mixed into one. It's got Harry Hess from Harem Scarum doing backup Michael Anthony vocals and more guitar work in a song by me than any other song we've ever done in terms of like lead guitar work. So I'm very proud of the solo and all the guitar work and plus the vocal performance as well. And yeah, I love that song a lot. I'm glad it's the title track. That would be my pick.
Now the second song chosen by JC.
I love Christopher Jostrom.
You do?
Yeah, I love all his music. And it's funny because I went to go see him in Malmo a few years ago, and I remember, you played 2 new... I got to talk to him after the show, and I'm like, you played 2 new songs? I was totally nerding out with him, so I want to get the DVD, because I bought the live record that he did in Gothenburg with the string quartet. I have to get the DVD, because I'd love to see that, but I think his last 2 records are great, so... And our friend Fredrik Normark is playing drums on it, so... Yeah, I'm a big fan, and I got introduced to Christopher Jostrom because I was a fan of Fireside. I had Uomini d'Onore, that was the record I got. And was it Do Not Tailgate? Is that the other? I think that's the other Fireside album I have. And then I heard that Poor Young Man's Heart, that was the first song that he had that I heard. And then ever since I've been left and leaving. I have all his records, so it's kind of a...
Any particular song you want to highlight, or is it too much a tough one?
I don't know. The new record is great. There's a couple of songs on there that I think are really, really good. I'm really bad with titles, but I think For Tomorrow is great. And Olivia is a really good song.
And now the third song chosen by Danko.
Okay, well, I did already, but it's digitally released tomorrow as well. Iron Magazine, JC and my side project with UC and Tommy. Queen of Hell, the first single off our side project, Iron Magazine. That's going to be released worldwide tomorrow. Wow. I'll say that.
And now the last song chosen by JC or Danko. I don't really know who will be chosen this one.
It's the last song.
Last song. Well, then fuck it, man. We got 2 singles coming out tomorrow. We played one of them. Now let's play the first one off Wildcat, which is My Little Rock and Roll.
There you go.
There you go. Boom.
Boom. So guys, honestly, thank you so much for having us here, interviewing guys.
Cool. Thanks for having us on your podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
Looking forward for the next show.
And the tour.
Oh, definitely.
Cool.
We'll definitely be back.
Oh, yeah.
We're doing the close-up boat. I mean, no, not the close-up, but the
Bandit Rock.
Bandit Rock.
Bandit Rock
boat.
Yeah.
That should be good.
Yeah.
Intense.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Rock Dudes 41, where our guests Danko Jones and JC did tell us about all the experiences and all the stories about touring and more. The music top list that was in the end of the episode will be published through our Spotify profile and homepage rockdudes.se. Don't forget to follow us on our social media network as Facebook, Instagram, YouTube and Twitter. Search for Rock Dudes Podden. Please write some comments about this episode or what you're thinking about this podcast, or which guests you want to be in our future episode of Rock Dudes. We will of course thank our sponsor PLANTRONICS and the newest headphone model Backbeat Pro 2. The jingle was recorded by Jonas Hermansson, Peter Månsson and Mia Coldheart. The interview was recorded by Jonas Löv and was edited by Endigo. Next episode, Rock Dudes 42, will be published in a couple of weeks, and this time it will be in Swedish. If you want to know the guests, you will find out through our social media network. Don't miss that. Until then, rock on! Rock Dudes!